Hi everyone, how's life, and welcome to another one of my videos. In this video I'm going to share 50 random facts that probably nobody cares about myself, but to make it a bit more interesting I'm going to film it in the parks here in Disneyland Paris, so hopefully you have at least something nice to look at and not just my face. Okay, so fact number one. I was born in Switzerland, Geneva, and I lived there until I was about 8 years old. My parents are of an Iranian origin, and I actually moved to Iran when I was about 8 years old from Switzerland where I was born, and I lived in Iran for about 7 years of my life until I was around 15 when we as a family had to unwillingly, unfortunately, leave the country and move to Austria. I myself am Austrian, so I've got an Austrian passport, and that's because my mom's side of the family, they moved to Austria before my mom was even born, so my mom is Austrian, my aunt, my grandparents. Basically that's why I've got an Austrian passport, which is all just very strange. I do understand. This is why I speak English, Persian, French, and a little bit of German as well. But my mother tongue is Persian, and that's the language I speak at home with my family. Barney the dinosaur is basically how I learned English, because it was my favorite TV program as a child and I would watch it all the time, and that's more or less how I got to learn English, and that's why I speak English now. I've been based in the UK, or more specifically London, since 2008 when I moved to London to go to university. I studied biomedical sciences at Queen Mary University of London for my bachelor's degree, and then I did a postgraduate degree in journalism. I've been making and editing videos ever since I was a child and uploading them on YouTube since 2017. Not on this channel that you're watching though. My star sign is Leo and my birthday is on the 29th of July. I have a younger brother who's called Reza, and he's about 2.5 years younger than me. My first ever Disney park was, of course, the beautiful Disneyland Paris, where I'm at right now. I was only about maybe 4 years old when I first came here, and I'm very lucky that as a child we visited quite a lot with my family, and the main reason is because I used to live in Geneva, as I've mentioned already, and so it wasn't too difficult to drive from Geneva to Disneyland Paris. It was maybe only about a 5-hour drive, and we don't ever drive here. We never got a plane or the train or anything like that. It was only my dad driving us here. And back when I was a child we would only ever stay in Disneyland Paris for one night. Sometimes we'd even come for just a day trip and then drive back to Geneva for the night. So it's only since I've turned an adult that I've had longer trips in Disneyland Paris, 2, 3 nights, 4 nights, sometimes even a week, and I love it. I feel very, very lucky and privileged to be able to come here so often now. The second ever Disney park I visited is Walt Disney World in Florida, and that was in 2015. That was my first visit there. I went with some of my friends, and I remember being so amazed by just the grandeur of it and how huge it was and overwhelming. And weirdly, Walt Disney World is also now my second most visited Disney resort, obviously after Disneyland Paris. The third Disney park that I ever visited was actually Shanghai Disneyland, and it was in June of 2016, so about 6-7 years ago now. I was very lucky to be there for its grand opening. I do have a couple of vlogs from that as well, so if you want to watch them I'll leave the links down below. It was an amazing experience to be at an opening of a Disney park. The fourth Disney park I ever visited was Disneyland California, so the original Disneyland in Anaheim, and it was back in 2016 with my good friend Rebecca. I have a vlog of that as well, a couple of vlogs actually from that trip, and it was awesome. I would really, really love to go back to California and visit the original Disneyland again. I would probably say it's my second favorite Disney park after Disneyland Paris. The fifth Disney park that I ever visited was Hong Kong Disneyland. I went there in November of 2019, and it was really special because my friend actually worked there, so I got to visit her as she was working there as a cast member. She's in fact still there, working still, and it was a beautiful park. A lot of people don't really rave about Hong Kong that much because it's only one park, but I promise you it's still worth visiting. I would definitely love to go back to Hong Kong Disneyland one day. It's a beautiful park, and the cast members there were fantastic as well. The only Disney resort that I'm yet to visit is Tokyo Disneyland in Japan. I was meant to go there in 2020, but we all know what happened with that, and at the moment I believe Japan is still closed for international visits and tourism, but hopefully I will get to go to Tokyo Disneyland one day. I'm hoping maybe in the next few years. I genuinely cannot wait because number one, I've always wanted to visit there. It looks like an incredible theme park, especially Tokyo Disney Sea. I've heard incredible things about it. But also, because I've been lucky enough to visit all the other Disney parks worldwide, I feel like I need to go to Tokyo Disneyland to complete the set, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like I'm missing out by not doing that one last one. My favorite theme park outside of the Disney parks is probably Efteling. Efteling in the Netherlands. Some of you actually recommended this theme park to me. Oh, the train is going past behind me. But yeah, I went to Efteling in 2019, and I've got a vlog of that as well on my channel. It's actually my most viewed vlog ever, so if you haven't checked out that video, feel free to do so. But I love that theme park. Such a fun theme park. It reminded me so much of Disney parks in some ways, but apparently Walt Disney was actually inspired by the Efteling. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but this is what I've heard. So yeah, really cool theme park, and I'm hoping to go back at some point this year. The Disney hotel I've stayed at the most is most probably Hotel Cheyenne here in Disneyland Paris. We used to stay there quite often when we were younger, when we came as a family, and then as an adult as well. If I'm to stay in a Disney hotel, normally Cheyenne is more the cheaper option, so I tend to choose that one. My most ridden ride in Disneyland Paris is probably It's a Small World in Fantasyland. I just love that ride. I remember riding it over and over again as a child when I came with my family. My mom loves this ride, so big shout out to my mom. And as an adult as well, whenever I just need a bit of a break, whenever I just want to relax a bit and listen to amazing music and watch some cute little dolls, I go on It's a Small World. I absolutely love it. My favorite Disney films are basically all the ones from the Renaissance era, because that's when I was born, so all the Disney films from the 90s really mean a lot to me, but specifically I would say Toy Story. Obviously I love it so much. I know that's Pixar, but you know what I mean, it's still Disney now. And Hunchback of Notre Dame, that's another one that I absolutely adored as a child. I loved it. In fact, there used to be a Hunchback of Notre Dame festival here in Disneyland Paris many years ago, and I remember coming here that year, and oh, the memories that I have from there, so good. I also love Pocahontas a lot. Tarzan's another good one from the Renaissance era. But if we're speaking more recent Disney films, then I really love Inside Out. Big Hero 6 is another really good one. Zootropolis, I love Zootropolis, and Coco. Wow, Coco is amazing as well. I never drink fizzy drinks, so sodas like Pepsi, Coke, Diet Coke, none of that. I've never been a fan of it. Even when I was a child, I would never drink it. In fact, I think the only fizzy drink that I like and sometimes drink is champagne, which says quite a lot about me, I think. I've experienced two pretty major earthquakes, and they were both whilst I was living in Iran. Scary experiences, honestly. I feel like I've actually traumatized a little bit from those experiences. I feel like one of the reasons I'm such a night owl might be because, you know, I experienced those terrifying earthquakes as a child. Obviously I survived them, obviously I'm well, thank the Lord. But yeah, earthquakes are quite common in Iran, and yeah, it's one of those things where even at school, when you go to school, your teachers, they kind of prepare you for it because it can happen anytime. But the ones that I'm talking about were quite major ones, like big ones, where I remember the chandelier in our house was full on shaking, like literally going back and forth. It was terrifying. I don't wish it upon anyone. My name, Samar, which is actually pronounced Samar in Persian. It means storytelling at night in Persian, and my mom fell in love with the name like only a few days before I was born. This wasn't going to be my main name. Initially they had planned something else for me, and then yeah, she read about my name somewhere and decided to call me Samar. And as I said, the pronunciation is actually Samar, but for a lot of English speaking people it's difficult, so I'm used to Samar. It's fine. You can call me Samar, you can call me Sam. I'm honestly happy with both of them, but I have to say French people pronounce my name very well. They say Samar, which is the closest to Samar, which is my name in Persian, and that's actually one of the main reasons that my mom decided to go for this name, because I was born in Switzerland and they speak French there, and she saw that everybody was able to pronounce my name very well, and that's one of the reasons that she chose the name. It is also a little bit strange because I'm very much a night owl, so maybe it is in the name, because like I said, Samar in Persian means storytelling at night, and I make stories through YouTube videos, and I normally tend to edit when it's nighttime. So Sam4God, my username, the story behind it, I get asked this so many times, and I have actually explained it in previous Q&As back in the days, but it's a long story, and not gonna lie, I feel like if I were to choose my username again right now, I wouldn't choose it. But basically, I've had the username Sam4God ever since I was about 15 years old, so over half my life. Like, it's been a long time, and so many people now know me as Sam4God, so I feel like it might be a little bit late to change it. I don't know, maybe one day I'll just change my username to just my name, Samar Naseri, who knows. But basically, the story of how I got the username Sam4God, when I was 15, I went to a Christian school, like a very serious Christian school as well in Austria, and I'm not Christian myself, my family aren't Christian, but basically when we moved to Austria, we needed to find an English-speaking school, and most of the other English-speaking schools were too expensive for our family to be able to afford, so we found this like Christian one, which was a little bit less expensive, but it was a Christian school, and we didn't mind. You know, our family are very open-minded, so they were like, yeah, sure, why not? And there was a girl at that school whose email address was girlforgod@hotmail.com or something like that back in the days, and I remember I found it really cool. I remember seeing it and being like, wow, that just looks cool, like the way it looks. And I thought, if I change the girl to Sam, because there's 3 letters in Sam and 3 letters in the word God, it looks even cooler. And I just like the double meaning of it, because it can mean 2 things. It can mean Sam4God, as in like Sam loves God and like wants to live for God, but also it can mean Sam4God, as in Sam Sam should be God. At the time, look, 15-year-old me thought this was a fun username. As I said, 31-year-old me wouldn't probably choose this username, but it's been too long now and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with Sam4God. But I do want to clarify that it's not a religious username and I'm not Christian myself either. Not that there's anything wrong with being Christian. Obviously, I respect all religions and all beliefs, but it's just not why I chose the username. The craziest thing I've ever done is probably a skydive. I did a skydive for my 25th birthday in 2015. There's a whole vlog of it on my channel too if you want to check it out. I did it for charity and a lot of you guys who have been with me ever since actually, you know, raised some money with me for this charity and for the cause. And yeah, I did a skydive just after my 25th birthday. It was absolutely terrifying, but also a lot of fun. The first time I ever went on an airplane was when I was only about maybe 5 or 6 months old, and it was from Geneva in Switzerland to Vienna in Austria. And I think it might have been with Swiss Air, the airline that I'm still very loyal to and I still try to use as much as possible. And of course the reason for that was because we had family in Vienna, Austria. My grandparents lived there and we wanted to go and visit them, and yeah, that's why I traveled so quickly and so young. I have friends and family scattered around the world, and whilst this is a huge privilege in many ways, it also can be quite lonely at times and a bit sad, you know. Like, obviously it's nice that I've got different places I can go to and I always know that I've got family or friends, close family and friends everywhere, but it's also one of those things where I feel like if circumstances were different politically, I don't know if this would have been the choice that my family would have made. I'm not sure, you know. And it's one of those things where a lot of Iranians unfortunately have to leave Iran for various reasons, but at the end of the day I do thank my lucky stars every single night and every single day, because, you know, we got a chance and I am incredibly lucky to be living in the UK and having this opportunity, especially knowing what my life could have been otherwise. I'm very grateful. This does mean that I find it pretty difficult to pinpoint any particular place as home. So when people ask me where's home, I never really know what to answer. I feel like I have different parts and different cultures of different places I've lived in me, but I do have to say, having said all this, London is probably the most home I feel, and obviously Disneyland as well. I love Disneyland Paris. But culturally, I don't feel 100% related to any of the cultures that I've lived in, if that makes sense. So I don't understand every single British culture. I don't understand every single Iranian culture. Same with Austria and Switzerland. It's just a mix, and I mean, I'm not complaining. Fact number 30, and this is quite a random but fun one. I once FaceTimed with Johnny Depp. Yes, the Johnny Depp. And it's so weird how it happened. I think it was back in 2016, and maybe one day I'll make a whole video explaining the situation and showing you the clip as well, but for now I'll just show you a tiny little bit of a clip of when I spoke to him.
What's that?
My selfie camera's not very good at the moment, so you probably can't see me, but hello, this is so cool. Is that okay? Oh wow, good, thank you. I'm a big fan of your films and your acting, and so is my brother as well.
Oh, you're very sweet, you're very kind.
Yeah. I play the piano and guitar, although I'm definitely much better at the piano than I am at guitar, because I've been playing piano ever since I was about, I want to say 8 or 9 years old, but with the guitar I only started learning when I was about 18, and I don't play it as often, whereas the piano I play it much more regularly. And this might actually be a good time to let you know that I do have some piano covers on my channel, some musical theatre ones, some Disney ones. They are mostly quite old, but you might still want to check them out if you wish to, and I'm hoping to do some more Disney covers in the future on my channel too. One of my other big loves in life, apart from Disney, is of course theatre. I've got loads of theatre vlogs on my channel. That's kind of how I started this channel actually. Well no, I started this channel back when I was at university years and years ago, back in 2010, and then carried on from there to basically theatre trips, and from then on it kind of evolved into Disney vlogs because I always loved Disney, and there you go. But theatre will always hold a special place in my heart, and I don't even know how many shows I've seen in the West End, probably way over 100. I've seen some shows more than 100 itself, so maybe probably more than 1,000 shows in the West End. That's quite a lot, but I do think the majority of them I saw when I first moved to London when I was at university, because I had a student card, and with a student ID of course you can get discounts to a lot of shows in London, and that helped me out quite a bit. And now unfortunately I'm no longer a student, so unfortunately I can't get the discount anymore, but I still try my best to go and visit a show at least once every other week. I have been an avid reader ever since I was a child. I've always loved books. Even as a kid I would read books constantly, children's books, you know, even Harry Potter. I was very young when I first read it, but like when Harry Potter came out, a lot of children started reading because of Harry Potter, but I was already reading before that. Like I said, I've always loved books, I've always enjoyed reading, and even now as an adult I try to read, you know, at least one book per week, and I just, the joy that it brings me, you know, with books, I can't even explain it. It's one of those things where I feel like books have helped me through many different circumstances, no matter if I'm happy or sad, particularly when I'm sad, books just make me feel a lot better. I do have a lot of book reviews on my channel as well, by the way, so if you want to check those out, feel free to do so. I grew up reading Harry Potter. I think I read the first book when I was I don't even know, maybe 8 years old, 9 years old. I was very, very young. I read them when they was first released, basically. And in case there's any Harry Potter fans here, I'm very much a Gryffindor. I've taken so many tests, and obviously the Pottermore test many, many times. I take it like every 2 years, because in my heart, I've always wanted to be a Hufflepuff, but for some reason I'm a Gryffindor, and I've accepted it. I do think I am a Gryffindor. I really don't have much of an interest in relationships, as in like romantic relationships. I enjoy being single so much. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm open to it, but it's never been something that I've actively gone and seek. I've actually always found it weird that people really want that for their lives. Like, it's never been me. When I was younger, I always thought there was something wrong with me, because a lot of my friends were like, oh my god, I really want a boyfriend, like we need to be in a relationship, etc. And I was just like, oh, is that what people are supposed to do? Because I'm really happy on my own. Like I said, I'm open to it. I mean, never say never, but it's not something that I actively seek out, because I don't know, I really enjoy my own company, and I love my friends as well. I've got so many friends around me that I never feel like I need like a person, like one person as my partner, if that makes sense. I don't know, maybe I'm weird. Let me know if you can relate to this. I've never broken a bone, but I have a scar under my right eyebrow over here. It's kind of hard to see or be able to tell on camera, but I got the scar when I was about 6 years old as a child, and I was just walking around with some pencils, and I was basically just painting, drawing, and I was too excited to show the drawing to, I think, my uncle at the time, and I somehow slipped, and Lord have mercy, I was very lucky that I didn't go blind, because I had the pencil this way around as well, which is so bad, and the pencil literally cut through the bottom of my eyebrow, and it instantly started bleeding heavily. We had to be rushed to hospital and get it stitched up, and honestly, my parents always tell me that I was incredibly brave and like hardly even cried throughout this whole process. I don't really remember it that much. I do remember like falling and like little moments of being in the hospital, and my uncle, bless him, he was so worried about me. But thankfully it was just a stitch, and I'm very lucky that the cut was above my eye and not actually in my eye, because like I said, things could have gone really wrong otherwise. I have 29 tattoos, and that might come as a shock to some of you, because most of my tattoos aren't very visible. Obviously the ones on my arms you can kind of see if I'm wearing a t-shirt, but the majority of my tattoos are actually on my legs, and obviously my legs aren't normally out, and even if they are, when I'm vlogging, you're not going to be seeing my legs. So yeah, 29 tattoos. I wonder what the 30th is going to be. I have 8 piercings. Wow, we're really scratching the bottom of the barrel now for these facts, but yeah, 8 piercings. They're all on my ears as well. You've probably seen them in videos. I think I've got about maybe 6 on the right ear, and then 2 on the left one. Lord have mercy. That was a very pointless fact, but there you go. Okay, this might be quite an interesting one. So I collect Vans shoes, and I have done so ever since I was 15. In fact, ever since I was about 15 or 16, Vans are more or less the only shoes that I wear. I want to say about 99% of the shoes that I own are all Vans. I feel like Vans really should sponsor me, you know? But yeah, maybe one day I'll make a collection video, but I enjoy collecting them. I wear them all the time. They're very comfortable, and I've been like a loyal fan of Vans for, like I said, over half my life, really. I like to use my platform on social media to voice my opinions on things, particularly with politics. I feel like it's really important that you have a following to share about important things that are going on in the world from time to time. I'm not saying you have to become a news channel, but I feel like for me, free speech is so important, because growing up in Iran, I didn't have that. In Iran, you literally cannot say anything negative about the government or politics, otherwise you might literally get killed. So I feel like in the West, when you do have free speech, when you do have a voice and you can share it, it just would be a shame not to use your platforms to share good and try and make the world at least a little bit better by sharing important facts. If you've got an audience, I genuinely don't understand why people wouldn't talk about things that are really important in the world. And I think people who say they're not into politics or they don't care about politics, that comes from privilege. It's a very privileged thing to be able to say, I don't care about politics, because politics can mean a matter of life or death for a lot of people. A lot of people rely on things, the government, things around them to survive. And we just be like, meh, it's not bothering me, so I'm not going to talk about things I think is really bad. Speaking of politics though, unfortunately I've never actually been able to vote in any major elections, and that's because obviously I live in the UK. I don't have a British passport. My passport is Austrian, and so unfortunately you can't vote in the UK if you don't have a British passport. You can vote in some minor elections, but not in the really big ones that matter, like when Brexit happened a few years ago. I unfortunately had no say in it, even though I'd been living in London since 2008. I couldn't actually vote, which I think is quite a flaw in the system, and it makes me sad, because I think it's really important to vote if you can, and if I had the ability, if I could vote, if I was in the right country with the right passport, I would 100% vote. But sadly, these are all just the problems of being a third culture kid. And if you don't know much about this term, the term a third culture kid, I have made a whole video about it, about like what that means and how my life was growing up. So I'll leave the link down below if you want to find out more about that. I have never had tea, at least not as an adult. I might have had tea when I was a baby, but yeah, as an adult, I've never drank tea. It's not something that I enjoy at all. And it's a bit ironic because both the UK and Iran are very well known for tea. In Iran, tea is a big thing, and of course in the UK as well. Tea is a big part of their culture, and yet me, I just don't like tea. I'm actually one of those weird people who genuinely really enjoys black coffee or like filtered coffee, and I have a random stranger to thank for this, because back in 2019, I think it might have been like May of 2019, I filmed a video called ordering the same thing as a person in front of me. That was like all the rage back then. That was what every YouTuber was uploading, and it just happened that somebody in front of me ordered black coffee from McDonald's, and so obviously I had to get the same thing, and I drank it and I was like, oh my god, this is actually really nice. Now I've gotten used to it. So it normally tends to be the main kind of coffee that I drink, just like black filtered coffee, and the ones from McDonald's are actually surprisingly good. I absolutely love traveling, and I'm very, very lucky and privileged to have traveled to so many different countries and continents throughout my lifetime. I wouldn't even be able to tell you what my favorite place is, because I've been to so many places and I've genuinely enjoyed almost every country and city that I've visited. But at the moment, my top 3 countries that I would really like to visit in the future are Japan, of course, Mexico. I really want to go to Mexico, and then Norway. Norway is a country that I've been fascinated by ever since I was young, and I don't know why I haven't gone there yet. So hopefully in 2022 or next year, 2023. My first ever real solo trip was in 2017, and I flew from London to Malaga in Spain. And the reason I did this was because I was struggling mentally quite a bit. I was quite depressed. Things had been going on and I needed an escape, and I literally just took myself to Spain for a few days, relaxed by the beach, and just was there with my own thoughts for a while, and honestly did me a world of good. And I would recommend any of you watching to do a solo trip somewhere, even if it's just to Disneyland Paris. This is actually a good place to start, Disney parks, because they're very safe, they're very easy, and then maybe venture out to other parts of the world. I love solo traveling. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love traveling with my friends and family too, but solo traveling is just very, very special. This is quite a random fact, but I thought I'd share it anyway. But I have seen a circumcision live, and if you don't know what the circumcision is, it's basically a surgery on the bottom half of people who have penises. And that's all I'm gonna say. I basically got to see it because I did work experience ages ago, before I went to university, obviously, in a hospital for a week, and one of the things that I got to experience and see whilst I was doing this work experience was this surgery, this circumcision. And honestly, I don't remember finding it any scary or anything. I actually really enjoyed the science behind the body and doing surgeries and things like that. I remember having a really cool time whilst I did my work experience, but obviously, as you can tell, I never pursued this passion of mine that I had, because really my main passion has always been videography and editing and journalism, which is why I did my postgraduate in journalism, like I mentioned earlier in the video. My first job was working at my school shop in Vienna when I was 16. The coolest job I've ever had is probably back in 2013. I was working for Euronews as a reporter, and one of the coolest things I got to do whilst I was working there was to go to the BAFTAs and interview some rising stars at the time, the nominees of that year, including Will Poulter, who is now very, very well known. Most of my other jobs have all been based around the theatre though, and that's because I really enjoy being in a theatre environment. I can really relate to people who work in theatre. I feel really comfortable in that environment, and honestly I've met so many great people as well. I've become more of a well-rounded person, I feel like, by working in theatre and meeting so many different kinds of people and learning more about life and just having my mind opened and listening to different opinions. I mean, this is what I love about life, listening to others, learning more, and just becoming a better person every single day. Well, that is the end of this video. That was 50 facts about me. Lord have mercy, I can't believe I literally just put you guys through this many random, probably pointless facts about me, but I hope you enjoyed the backgrounds at least. I tried to make it a little bit more interesting by having different backgrounds. I mean, Disneyland Paris is always going to be cute, right? But jokes aside, the main reason I did this is because there are some questions that I get on a regular basis, like, where are you from? How come you speak Persian? How come you know French, etc. So I thought maybe this might be interesting and you might learn a few random new pointless facts about me as well. Before I end this video, I do want to give a huge shout out to all of you that I've met on this trip in Disneyland Paris. It's been incredible. Like, honestly, it melts my heart every single time, and it really does mean a lot. I've met people from so many different countries as well, obviously the UK, the Netherlands, Germany, Peru, Italy, Spain. There's just been so many people, and I am very, very humbled. I can't believe that these random videos that I started doing over a decade ago have now reached so many different countries and so many other Disney fans who love the parks as much as I do. It really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't followed me on Instagram, feel free to do so, because I do post there a bit more often, a bit more regularly than I do on YouTube. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.